All right, everybody. Good morning. Tuesday, late morning. Week 13 is in the books. So let's do the rooting guide post-mortem, sift through it, see where things stand, try to get a feel for how the NFL is shaking out as it pertains to the Seahawks. Did we get help or did we not get help? So let's piece through this. Starting with Thanksgiving. Bears Lions first game. I did say that just in case we should want the Bears to lose because we didn't need them getting involved in the wild card race, but at that point it was realistically already done. You look at the Bears' remaining schedule, by the way, it's pretty brutal. Very hard to imagine the Bears going on any kind of a run, and even harder to imagine now. But it's not like we're catching the Lions, so there was no point in rooting for them to lose. So I said it was still better. We got it. And now the Bears, 8 losses. Look at their remaining schedule. They still have to play the Packers. They still have to play the Seahawks. They still have to play even the Niners. I mean, the Niners aren't good this year, but they're not a terrible team. They're just kind of bad. And they have a couple other tough games left, too. They don't have any gimmies. They could really lose out, and it wouldn't be that shocking. So you can forget about them now. Giants Cowboys. I did kind of want the Cowboys to get finished off here. Didn't happen. Not surprising. We're gonna just need somebody else to finish the Cowboys, and I'm sure that's coming. So I'm not even tripping on it. The Cowboys play the Bengals this upcoming week. They will probably lose that game. They play the Eagles one more time. Hard to believe they're going to win that game. I think they still get. Uh, they got the other game against the Commanders, and I know they beat the Commanders once, but I don't know if you would bet on that outcome again. So I think that I think it'll take care of itself. I mean, Cooper Rush is not running the table. Cooper Rush is not leading the Cowboys to the playoffs from a 3-7 record. Some things just don't happen. Um, Packers basically ended any drama about them making the playoffs or not. They're going to be in. 9 wins now, and they still have some extremely winnable games left. So this was kind of the last chance for things to get a little bit dicey for Green Bay, but it's become pretty clear that is going to be a playoff team. They are probably going to end up with the 6th seed, and while I do think they're going to drop at least a couple more games the rest of the year because they do have a little bit of a tough schedule, they do have some challenges coming up. They needed to lose that game to have any realistic possibility of not getting in at all, and it didn't happen. So you can kind of feel it feels like you can pencil Green Bay into the 6th seed at this point. So that pretty much takes away a wild card spot. Friday's game didn't really mean anything for the Seahawks. Nothing really to say there. Jumping into Sunday, Chargers Falcons. This one I struggled with, man. And I got to tell you, the Chargers ended up winning, which theoretically should be good. It's an NFC team. It's the Falcons, but the at the end of the day, the NFC South is going to send a team. They have to. It's against the rules for the NFC South to not have one playoff team. So if Atlanta is going to blow this, and Atlanta sure is trying to blow this, then I it's Tampa Bay, right? It pretty much has to be Tampa Bay. It can't be anybody else. And we own the tiebreaker with Tampa, and I've already looked at it. We are very unlikely to own the tiebreaker with Tampa. Or excuse me, we own the tiebreaker with Atlanta. It's very unlikely that we will own it with Tampa. So I kind of wanted Atlanta to just win the division in case it came down to that. Now, granted, if the Seahawks win the division, 3 seed versus 4 seed is not that big of a deal. And you could make an argument that you'd rather have Atlanta in the wild card race as a fallback. But Atlanta's 6-6, and they still have some tough games coming up here. Like, are they really going to get a wild card? Aren't they division or bust? I don't know. This stuff is complicated. This stuff is hard to figure out. But I kind of feel like I just wanted Atlanta to win the division, and it's getting dicey. It is getting dicey. The schedules are very, very unfavorable to Atlanta the rest of the way. Honestly, the only reason why this feels like any kind of a conversation is because Atlanta has the tiebreaker. Steelers Bengals, that one didn't really mean anything over here. Cardinals Vikings, though, certainly did, and I mean, it took the whole game. It took a decent amount of drama, but Vikings got it done. And we needed that very badly because the Cardinals' schedule for the rest of the year is cake. After this Vikings game, they play the Seahawks, and then the rest of the schedule, I feel like they could win out and it wouldn't be surprising just because the teams they play are not very good or in not very good situations. So I'm what I'm trying to say is that Cardinals team might already be aiming at 10 wins and they don't even have to do anything crazy to get there. So it was a big deal they lost this game. And the Vikings, obviously, they're going to be a playoff team. Maybe they win the division. I don't think they will, but they could. But more than likely, they're a 5 seed. So that's another playoff spot that is basically penciled in. So that leaves one wild card, which is the thing that I've been talking about for a while now. If you had any doubts about it before this week, you probably don't have them anymore. Colts, Patriots. Could have used a Patriots win just for strength of schedule, but was not to be. And who's really going to bother tripping on things like that at this point? Strength of schedule, very unlikely to matter when you consider the fact that the Seahawks are likely going to need to win their division to make the playoffs. And the odds of a seed, like the 3 versus the 4 coming down to strength of schedule, is minuscule. Titans, Commanders would have been nice, but yeah, the thing that I was saying earlier with the Commanders seems like it's going to hold true. That's not a very good team. That's a fraudulent team that I think will get boat raced in the postseason. But I think their schedule is such that they're pretty much guaranteed to make the playoffs. At 8 wins already, and if you look at the games they have left, it's impossible to imagine them not winning at least 2. Right? So 10-7. That looks like your 7 seed, right? It's tough to believe anybody catching them. Maybe there's some scenario where the Seahawks and Rams both have 10 wins at the end of the year, right? Maybe I could see something like that. And maybe the Cardinals could get involved as a 10-7 team that doesn't win their division. But realistically, Washington, I'm mixing my teams up today. Washington, you look at their remaining schedule, they got a pretty good chance of winning 3. So at 11 wins, they're basically guaranteed. So the book is kind of closed on that. I'm going to keep an eye on the Commanders because I do think they're a mediocre at best team, but I think they're pretty much locked in. Let's see here. We got the Texans, Jaguars, not really anything going on there. Rams, Saints, it was entertaining. Saints tried, they did their best, they did what they could, but it wasn't enough. I heard Stafford got hurt in this game, and it's something that he's going to try to play through, so that does throw a little bit of a wrinkle into things, but yeah, the Rams get the win, so they stay where they need to stay, 6-6. And you look at their remaining schedule, it's not easy, but it's not necessarily hard either. It's just kind of a bleh schedule. And if they take care of business, they're going to have every chance to get in. And it's setting up for that Week 18 game in LA to decide it. And I'm not feeling great about that. I really was hoping to avoid that spot, and it looks like we're not avoiding that spot. So there is, I guess, a tiny bit of value in the Saints basically being out of it now, but who really cares about that? Like I said, the wild card spots are pretty much set in the NFC, so I'm not going to even pretend like that mattered at all. We needed the Rams to lose, especially when they teased us by keeping this game so close. This next one hurt a little bit. I mean, Carolina should have won this game 2 different times. They had the game won, blew it at the end of regulation, had the game won, blew it in overtime. And now Tampa Bay is here at 6-6, tied for the division lead, behind by a tiebreaker, and their remaining schedule is soft. At this point, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Tampa Bay should do it. They should win the division. If they don't, they messed up. The remaining schedule is so soft compared to Atlanta's. If they don't win the division, that's kind of embarrassing. And I know that the fact that they should have lost to Carolina and almost did indicates they're not that good, but that's not really how the NFL works. At the end of the day, either you win or you lose, and Tampa Bay's defense will probably not play that poor again. I mean, they gave up 300 yards to Bryce Young. And again, if I think Carolina missed field goals early in the game too, that would have ended the game outright before we even got to the point where there could have been overtime. So Tampa Bay got outplayed in that game, and that does say something negative about them. But I'm telling you, they don't need to play that well the rest of the way in order to get in. So I'm feeling like they win the South, and look, I'm not going to pretend like the 3 seed versus the 4 seed is that big of a deal, but we were much more likely to get the 3 seed over Atlanta than we are over Tampa. We just are. And with their remaining schedule, there's a very good chance that Tampa wins the division with 10 wins, and Seattle wins their division with 10 wins, and then we lose the tiebreaker because of, I think it's conference record. Either way, I know that we're unlikely to win the tiebreaker. I've looked at it. Eagles, Ravens, not really much going on here. Technically, AFC on NFC, you're always going to want the AFC to win pretty much, but we're not catching Philly. Who cares? I don't feel the need to pretend. I mean, Philly still gets one more game against the Giants. They still get another game against the Cowboys. I think they get another game on the Commanders too, and like I said, the Commanders are overrated. So we're not catching them. So even if they had lost this game, we weren't catching them. So I'm not going to sweat on it. Sunday night game went very well. Basically stuck the knife in the 49ers. Not just because of the embarrassing loss, but also because of the many injuries they sustained. And yeah, the Niners, even if they get their stuff straight and win a couple of games here at the end of the year, they still got to play the Lions. They got to play the Rams, and the Rams are really going to need it. And that's probably enough right there. Honestly, they might need to win out. Maybe 9 wins gets in, but I seriously doubt it. So I think you can kind of just cross them off and not think about them. And finally, Monday night, Broncos win. Good for strength of schedule, I guess. So that's it. See you guys later. Go Hawks.